What is up, everyone? Welcome to Mechs on Deck, and I messed up where chat is located on the screen because you know what? Hey, I still haven't fixed it. It's going to be fixed this weekend. But tonight we are joined by Mr. Keybonbon, the owner and operator of KineticLabs. How are you doing, man?
Hey guys, how's it going? I'm doing pretty well. How are you guys?
Doing well, doing well. What about you, Chewy?
I'm tired, but let's fucking get it.
Let's go.
Let's fucking get it. Shake your Keybonbon. Guys, we have a quick announcement. We have a new sponsor. If you haven't figured it out already, KineticLabs with the sponsorship. Welcome aboard the Mechs on Deck team. So this has been kind of planned because for those who don't know, also we're going through a big change here in the next couple days. So we were like, hey, let's get you on the show. Actually, then let's twist this and like, why don't we do this whenever we kind of start? So yeah, KineticLabs sponsorship. Thank you. You sent us a bunch of stuff graciously for free, which is insane. I was like, I kept like looking. I was like, are you serious?
Well, what was funny?
Like, and both of us?
Yeah, that was the part. I was like, after you sent like an invoice to us, and Chewy sent it to me, and I was like, so wait, how are we like divvying this stuff up? Like, what are you taking? And he's like, no, dude, he sent that to both of us. I was like, wait, what? I was like, I don't need all this stuff. Like, so thank you very much appreciative of that.
So happy. I mean, super happy to do it, and super excited to be sponsoring you guys. It's an honor, honestly.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, we're gonna be adding that to our sponsor information and our lovely sponsor role that we do every evening, and we'll have a nice little
more to talk about.
Yeah, more to talk about. Lots of cool stuff.
How many sponsors does this put you as?
So with the addition of 3D Keybs as being partnered with us, it that puts us at 4 sponsors and 4 partners. It is quite a bit, but we think that each sponsor adds something a little different, right? We don't, we've in approaching that, Zap's been there since day one. Not since day one, but pretty much since day one. Smith and Rune, great guys to partner up with, and then of course with sponsors, Candy Keys and OmniType, and Project Keyboards are just great sponsorships that we've been very, very fortunate to have. And then now KineticLabs, which kind of fills in a lot of the gaps of things that you need for builds.
It's crazy hearing KineticLabs like in that list, because I feel like it's such an awesome list of vendors. Kind of surreal.
Well, dude, it like Chewy says, it fills in the gaps. I think, we used to partner with SwitchMod, and nothing against them, but they kind of moved away from like accessories and like lube and stuff, and they went to more of like traditional vendor stuff, keycaps, keyboards and stuff like that. But it's nice to have somewhere to send people to get the accessories in order to get the actual boards built, right? Like, it's cool to go and buy keycap sets and all that stuff, the group buy boards and whatnot from all the other sponsors, but you need lube and switches and stuff, and you've got
containers.
Yeah, you got all the accessories that are fun and are things that you may not be thinking of, and it's in stock. Like Streaking Bison says, in stock, baby.
Yeah, that's the huge one. Like, in the before time, even before the before times, in stock was maybe novel keys if you were wanting something that maybe wasn't like the hype switch of the day. If you wanted, like, he had lots of Kales up in that, but not the box switches were hard to get. And if not, you were paying $15 for shipping from KBD fans. So it's crazy to see the hobby evolve. But before we get sorry, what were you going to say? My apologies.
Yeah, I was going to say or go on Mech Market and pay ridiculous prices for it.
Luckily, Mech Market at that time was not insane. Thanks, GMK Olivia. Thanks,
I don't.
GMK
Yeah,
Serica. I
I feel like
remember
it used to be fun going on Mech Market. Now it's like it's
it's
just
like
a shit show.
oh, do I really need this?
Dude, Mech Market
Same.
like doesn't even exist to me anymore. Like I
I
can't remember the last time I
sent
checked
to
it.
Yeah.
I sell on it.
Yeah.
Make that money. Make that money.
It just reminds me of like the boards that I can't afford. It's like $6,000 for like something crazy. Like
it's a temptation.
yeah.
Like, do I really need this board? Maybe I do.
Every time I go look at it, I'm like, wait, this board, people are selling it for this much? Really? Don't they know like there's 4 other boards that are just like it coming out? So
What was it? God, why can't I think of the name? The KBD fans, the Polaris, or it was like $700 for a $280 keyboard.
I think the which Rama board was it that they had like the round 2 running, like the round 2 was
M65A.
running, and people were like selling it already in like
the U80A, yeah.
Or U8,
yes, right, the U80A, and like it was still selling for like I don't know, like $1,500, even though the round 2 was like in progress. Like
you
pretty-
can wait, or you can pay just the dumbest amount for that. But before we get too far into talking about ridiculous costing things, some things that won't completely empty your wallet are items from KineticLabs, our newest sponsor. So guys, we have 4 awesome sponsors, 4 our awesome partners. They're not 100% on the screen yet, but like I said, we're going to be changing this up. But we have some awesome partners with sponsors with OmniType, Project Keyboards, Canon Keys, and KineticLabs, as well as our awesome partners Zap Cables, Type B, Smith & Root, and 3D Keybs, which you will hear all from later. Let's start us off with our top 4 favorite switches of our Fast 4.
Let's see. So I would say in no order, and maybe like going through the categories. So for linear, I'd say probably vintage blacks. That's actually what funny enough, it's what I built the Baco with. That's right in front of me. And so that's linear. Clickies, I think. I'm a big fan of Matthias Click. It's just like so like loud and obnoxious. Which I feel like that's kind of what you want when you're going for like a clicky switch. For tactile, it's kind of hard because there's so many like different things. But if I had to choose one, probably like Zelios, just because they're so comfortable. What am I missing? But linear, clicky, tactile.
Yeah.
Oh, and I guess just like one.
If there's a new one, there's a different one. Let me know.
Let me introduce you to no. And actually, I guess Topra would be like my last one. I'm a big fan.
Nice. Next up will be your top 4 favorite key sets.
For key sets, it might be because I'm like staring at it right now, but I'm a huge fan of Denim, GMK Denim, which is also what I have on the backup.
My favorite peeps.
Super like underrated set, I feel, and it was also in stock for like a really long time, which kind of blew my mind. Denim, I really liked Waves. I mentioned to you guys earlier, it was one of the first, if not like the first group ice I joined, getting into the hobby. GMK Carbon was one that I was a big fan of as well. And this one, like I haven't received it yet, but I guess like EPBT aesthetic is an awesome one. It's one I actually haven't joined any like group buys or anything since I have been working on KineticLabs for the past maybe like 7 months. But I made it. That's like one exception I made was for aesthetic.
Yeah,
because it's a $79 base kit, right?
Yeah, and I don't know if you knew or not, but it's available at canonkeys.com/Mechs on deck. Quick show.
The quickest.
Did I wait? Did I say?
I think
4?
that was 4.
That was 4.
I think that was 4. Yeah.
Yeah. So, next up, top 4 favorite keyboards.
So for keyboards, I'd say that's a hard one, but I think for me it's like a mix of like before I started making YouTube videos and like Kinetic Labs and stuff. I think I spent like a good year just like collecting a lot of boards that I thought were like interesting, and so I just happened to have like a lot of like just what I think are like interesting boards. One of them being the TGR Alice, which funny enough, like I think is not a particularly like good sounding board or comfortable board, but it's really like interesting just because it's so like influential, and like it's so, like it's such a like historically significant board like in the hobby. So I feel like that one is just like an obvious choice. Another one kind of like along the same vein is the OTD 356 mini. um I mean, it's crazy to think like I think that was like 11 years ago, like, way before I even like thought about anything like related to the hobby. um but it had like the arguably like the first like gasket mount, like o-ring type of thing. And it's kind of interesting and cool to see like a lot of boards now using that mounting system. So I feel like that's also one that, and unlike the Alice, I think that one is one that like feels and sounds amazing in addition to like being historically significant. um that's two. Three, I guess I would go with the I really like my Matrix 1.2 OG. I think it's a half plate with, I think I built it with Gatoron Blacks. But it sounds, I don't know, it just sounds and feels so good. And for the fourth, um, I guess I'll go with the, maybe it's also because I'm staring at it, but the Bauer. It's such like a, it's such a pretty board, but it's also, I feel like it, I remember it being so like easy to build. Like it was just such a friendly, like it felt so quick. Like I yeah, definitely one of the like easiest boards I've built. And it sounds and feels pretty good. So yeah.
Yeah, I think what I love about the Bauer, and what I think I kind of wish more boards would gear toward. The Bauer does what the Bauer does perfectly. Like some boards are trying to be, this is what I see a lot of boards kind of sadly fall to, is they try and have a lot of different options and a lot of different maybe plate materials and all these different things. Um, and they're trying to appeal to more of a mass, as opposed to being like, it's going to be good at this. And
Mhm.
Bauer to me is like, it's going to be a good, stiff gasket mount board.
Yeah.
And we're going to make it the best stiff gasket mount board. And then they just push that. And I'm like, that's what I like about the Bauer, is that it knows exactly what it is.
Except for mine,
Yeah.
because mine has a palm plate
Well,
and it's not
it's
stiff. But hey,
I love boards too that were kind of like designed to not use foam. Like they just kind of work just like on their own.
Mhm.
And I feel like the Bauer does a good job of that.
yeah, I don't feel like I've never been a big fan of like the foam hype train. I feel like if it needs foam, it's like it should have been designed a little bit different. Um, unless like it also comes with the foam. Like I feel like that's, if that's the intention, like the Matrix Noah, where it comes with like the plate foam, or like the Mode 80, where that's part of the process of putting it together. Like that's one thing, like that's very intentional. But when it's like, when it first started and it was like, oh yeah, just throw a fat thing of sorbethane in the bottom, I'm like, why are we, what? Like, what are we doing?
Yeah, it's really interesting because I feel like at one point foam was kind of used like to correct like something that was wrong. Like you'd add it to like your tofu or something to like make it sound better. And now it's really interesting because it almost feels like a lot of, it's almost like the default now. Almost like saying gasket mount now. It's like
Yeah.
foam is, it's like everywhere now.
I used to put foam in a couple different boards, and then I think the only one that really truly benefited the most was the Austin, and that's just sheer size. I mean, the bigger the canal.
More space, yeah.
There's so much space, and I was putting holy pandas in it, so it's like it's very echo. And then after I took it out, I was like, I actually kind of like the echo, like the like. So I yeah, I think with the boards that are designed to go, okay, let's try and do this, and and then there are the people that did the even further, and they did like like you said, like the sorbethane, where it's like we're gonna fucking stick this shit in there. And I guess there's sound dampening if you're trying to make the quietest board possible. But then I'm like, then don't get a metal board.
Right.
Yeah, I get
Like
something.
Yeah, that's
standard.
the thing. Yeah, that's the thing is that like if your entire board is just like one solid block of like sorbethane, I feel like it kind of like I feel like all boards that are just super heavy on foam kind of sound just very similar. Like you lose that subtlety sometimes that you get with um, boards that don't have that.
Yeah, allowing them to breathe a little bit. But the last question on the Fast Four is one that has nothing to do with keyboards, but it is your top 4 favorite foods.
Top four. Definitely pizza. Also like in no order, like pizza. I think living so close to New York and like just having access to like really good pizza. Um, and sushi. Also, like maybe it's also because I live in like the Northeast and that's like a super big thing here. But yeah, huge fan of like sushi, sashimi, like any kind of like raw fish. Um, I don't know if you guys know any like Colombian food, but I'm Colombian, so I like grew up with some of that stuff, and yeah, I could like if I had to choose like a Colombian dish, like I don't know if you guys have heard of like ajiaco. It's like this. It's basically like Colombian like chicken soup, but it's like really thick. It's like a super thick broth, and like you put cream on it. And I just have like really good memories of just like Colombian food in general.
Ooh, that looks
Um,
good.
oh, you're looking at
Yeah, I'm
pictures.
looking it up.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. If you
That's
get the
like
chance
that's
to
like
try it,
peak chicken noodle soup without noodles and add avocado.
yeah, it's like what chicken noodle soup wishes it would be. Um, um, I think that's 3, and then 4. I guess just like a cheap meal would be just like McDonald's. Like it's kind of like my go-to like fast food.
Absolutely. I mean, it slaps.
There's
Can't go
So
there's
sometimes it just hits.
there's always that time of day, or that that one day a month, that one day a week, where you're just like, I'm really craving that McDonald's burger taste. Like that just fresh out the little fucking tray that they pull out.
Pull out the fucking plastic tray that's just steaming.
Yeah.
Like
Oh, I make like a whole like event of it. Like I plan my day and like I don't eat for the entire day and then I do it like mukbang style and I just get like seven different things.
I love it. I love it. So, guys, Keybonbon, he's been around for a hot minute in the hobby. He started KineticLabs, where you can get quite a few things that, if you're starting in the hobby, it's a great place to go. You can get pretty much everything other than a soldering iron. Like every accessory you'll need, it's there. So Kinetic Labs, as a sponsor, thank you and welcome to Mechs on Deck. Boom. Welcome. So you've been in the hobby for a hot minute. How did you get started?
So I think like in terms of like just like keyboards and like just tech in general, it's something that I've like always been interested in just like growing up. Like my dad was like a software guy and I ended up going to school also for like software. So I was always I think like around like, just like nerdy stuff and like computer stuff. But I wouldn't say I like got into the keyboard hobby itself and like custom keyboards until like I had money. So like until I graduated and I could actually like afford to like like buy things. Which was like a couple of years ago. Um, and yeah, I think I can't remember exactly how I got into it. I think just like my coworkers or something were like super into it. I remember the guy that sits next to me or that used to sit behind me had like this whole like massive collection of like keyboards. Um, and it's just like a super popular thing. I feel like in software and stuff. Um, but yeah, I mean, I just found it super appealing. Like everyone, just the ability to like customize everything and all the little like nuances. Um, and my first kind of foray into like meeting people in the hobby, I think would be like when I was affiliated with like Met Group Buys, and I met Winter, who's the like he I think he had like a WordPress site at that time or something, or he like just made the Reddit, like whatever. And I forget how we met exactly, but I kind of volunteered to like build the website, which is the current website. Although I think it's going away. I think they're like rebuilding it. Actually, Didi I think is like, I forget what he's doing with it, but that was where I think I met like a lot of my like really good friends now. So like Winter, and like that's where I met Didi and like a few other people. Um, and then I guess like a year in, I started my YouTube channel, which was Keybonbon. And it kind of coincided with like COVID happening. So it was, I don't know, it was just kind of like good timing to like do something indoors to just, make the time pass.
Mhm.
And I had like a blast doing that. I also met like some really like awesome people doing that. And like, I think that's where when that's where I met like a lot of like content creators too, was just through like Keybonbon. Um, and that was a year ago that I started the YouTube channel. And then I probably started planning Kinetic Labs. I guess like maybe like 7 months ago or something. Um, and I think that's around the time when like things just felt really frustrating with like, things not being like in stock and stuff, and like everything was just like not, yeah, like people just couldn't like keep up with stuff. And then I not only that, but I also like felt it'd be kind of interesting for there to be like a vendor that would do all the kind of vendory things. So like sell like keycaps, with the community, and like desk mats and like keyboards that are community driven, but like all in stock, like no group buys, no pre-orders. Um, and so yeah, like I just kind of went right at it. And like it was me and Matt, actually. He's the other half of Kinetic Labs. And I kind of like pitched the idea to him, and he like helped out. And then we just like made a big order for a bunch of stuff, and we found the cheapest kind of warehouse space we could find. A short-term lease, because we couldn't really justify like a long-term type of thing.
Mhm.
And so we found this kind of like, I don't want to say sketchy, because it's not like sketchy, but it's like a little sketchy. It's like this
Just a little
just a
sketchy.
little bit. It's like
You
it's
roll up
like
the windows, but you don't necessarily feel like you need to lock the doors quite yet.
it's under a bridge. And like
There it is.
um and like it was really interesting, because like carriers didn't really know it existed. So we had to like chase them down and tell them like, hey, like we're here. Um and yeah, that's how we started. And that was kind of the only place we could find that was like reasonably affordable. And we obviously couldn't justify like a long-term lease, um like at the time. So um yeah, and then like here we are. We had some like good, um some cool like products, I guess, some cool like partnerships. um I'd say when it really took off was probably like uh the Penguin launch.
Mhm.
Like before the Penguin launch, it was things were a little scary, because like nothing. I mentioned this to you guys before, but the like I think we joined the market a little bit too late. Like we joined when some of the stuff we were selling, like they weren't really scarce anymore. Like it wasn't really an issue. Like because you can find lube, like it's not really an issue to find lube. Like I don't know, like switches, the switches we were selling, like you. So like things just weren't selling. But like thankfully with the Penguins, it like kind of took off. And ever since then, I'd say that was like the event that kind of like has allowed us to grow a little bit.
Absolutely.
And yeah.
Yeah. Hell
Thank
yeah.
you to Jigsaw Saint for gifting Sketchy and Bridge Troll subs. So,
Fantastic names.
Also, DD Decline, thank you for the 14 months
ooh,
sub
fancy.
tier
Man.
1. 14 minutes. We're getting real close to the 24 months.
Yeah, 24 months on Twitch. But yeah, the thing about, well, first up, when did Kinetic Labs actually launch? Because I guess I'm not 100% sure of when it actually.
November 16th was the launch date. So it's been, it feels like so long ago, but yeah, it's only been like, I don't know, what is it, like 4 months?
4 months. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you definitely, to me, it definitely hit the right spot, right? Because there was a lube shortage for a hot minute. Because lube somehow took this weird mind of its own and started being sold only through like kind of not private, but like just through people, not
Right.
like vendors, which
Like
caused a
Mech
lot of
Market,
issue with Mech Market. That caused issues, obviously,
eBay.
with SwitchMod, because SwitchMod was kind of the lube vendor
Mhm.
for the longest time. And then there was the whole thing about TKC kind of like putting their foot in and going like,
Right.
now we're the main distributor, or like only we talk to the people that make Crytox. And it was just this very strange time. And now there's definitely, you have multiple options, but the thing that doesn't the thing that doesn't help is you need something to apply that lube. You need somewhere to put the lube. You need all these other things. And so what's so cool, and which is why I'm like, go here, is like you can get everything you need. Like it's crazy. Like the lube brushes, because the same thing. You're like, oh, I gotta buy lube. I also gotta buy a brush, but now I gotta go buy a brush from either like a local, like hobby shop or an art shop, or order them on Amazon, and you know roll the dice there. And then you have to figure out, okay, well, which ones do I get on Amazon? Because you can't just go get like a fucking thick ass paintbrush and expect to do well. So you're like, oh, I can either get thin ones or really fucking thin ones. But I at least know like, hey, these are kind of made for what they're supposed to do. And that to me is just like galaxy brain. Like it's just massive that you're able, like, alone, just that with lubing alone is just huge, that you're able to, I can send someone there and go, hey, everything you need to start lubing right there, boom, knock
Yeah, and like
yourself out.
lube's really interesting too, because we also like we did it a little differently than some other places, because we um were like the first to like have like officially down packaged lube from Miller Stevenson, which is why it's so expensive, um because we, like, I think by the time we buy the lube, it's like it'd be cheaper for us to buy lube from the other vendors than it is to like just buy down package, because it's well, for one thing, I think it's like American labor, so I think it's like they're the ones that are like down packaging it in their like factories. um but it's kind of nice because you know like exactly how much you're getting, and you kind of get it like directly from the source.
Mhm.
And then it's up to people to decide like if that's something that's important to them. um yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and then another thing I want to, what?
It's just showing off the down packaged lube.
Hell
I
yeah.
mean, it's nice. Like Max F was ranting and raving about it last night. The fact that you can get like this, for instance, I think he was talking about this is the GS2 grease. That you've got the nice little syringe tip, and you can just kind of shoot it in. It's great for working on stabs, freshen them up, because you can kind of get in there with it real quick. And you know, to me, it's always been frustrating with lube. I've got these big containers, and then there's always going to be just a little bit in there. Like it feels like I'm wasting some. Whereas with your combo of the down packaged with the little lube palette, it's really nice. You're really only putting out what you need, and you're storing it, and it's a better. I feel like it's a better storage overall.
It's
Totally.
nice that it has the little, yeah, like the little number, so you know like how much is in there. Something kind of interesting that I learned like recently was that the syringe, like the tips are apparently they're like a standard, so you can get like if you wanted to get like a finer tip from Amazon or something, like those will like they'll fit. They're just like little screw-ons. I think they're called like Lauer locks or something. But
there you go. Learn something new. Yeah, and I think the more you get in, this is something I would love to talk about maybe more in detail. Another episode is like boards do kind of need tuning, right? They need fine tuning as a board ages, right? Like you don't necessarily need to do a complete rebuild every single time you think that the board. I mean, you can. There's nothing against it if you want to go back and relube all your switches and all that. I'm not going to stop you, but some switches do. Honestly, I will my stabilizers and my WASD. Sometimes I'll just hit those, especially on my Baka has been. I've definitely desoldered the gaming, the mainly used for gaming switches. I just went back in and instead of I relubed the spacebar one specifically because I was also tuning the stabs, but then I just kind of desoldered a few and just rearranged a couple to kind of spread the love. That's why I like what I used to do is I used to for a month this was back when I had like 3 boards. For a month, if I knew I was going to be building with these switches, I would pop them in my tofu in a hot swap build, and I would use those switches, and then for a month, and then every week I'd do that, put them in a jar, shake them up, put them back in, just to kind of really evenly distribute where all the switches were. That's kind of a break. I don't do that anymore because I don't got time for that. but yeah, it's tuning up your boards as they age. I mean, look at dielectric grease. That was like the start of it.
Yeah, on the topic of like breaking in switches, I had a video planned where like I don't. Do you guys remember seeing the Reddit post with like the fan and it like
yeah
it would jump? I was gonna like build that and make a video out of it, but I never got around to it. But I got like I don't know. Maybe like one of these days I'll have time to do it. But it I don't know. I just thought that was so funny that whole thing.
The like 1,000-year-old creams that guy was claiming. Nuts.
I mean, building that, it's if you can build it and it's feasible. There's a market. I'm sure there are people that would be like, yeah, I'd love a 25,000 actuation switch. Don't know why. I guess. I mean, I need to try some. I've got a guy local to us that has done that with blueberries. They're like 50,000 actuations, and I almost said accusations.
That'd be a lot.
There are a lot of accusations. Actuations. I'm curious to know because like blueberries are definitely not the smoothest switch out there. I'm curious to know how that kind of rubs down and kind of smooths it out. And then I'm like, man, what happens if you take something like a JWK or a lavender or like a Telio or just a Gatoron black ink and do it with that? Because at that point I'm like, or just a cherry, just a regular MX black. If you're able to smoothen those out, like could we see people legitimately like essentially running a business just going, yeah, I'll load them in and press it for a week and then boom? Like that would be something I know people would pay for.
Yeah, I feel like with breaking in switches, I don't know if I've ever noticed like a huge difference. But at the same time, like with like vintage blacks, like every now and then you get some that are, they're like totally stock, like they're don't have any lube, but they're still like super smooth. And I forget if that's because they're like broken in or because of something else, but yeah,
Sometimes
definitely some
the
switches
tooling's
benefit.
just perfect.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I think it's a mixture of both a lot of times.
That's true.
And that's how I feel with these lavenders, like these lavender switches. I can't wait to build them. It's mainly because I miss my OSA, but like, even though Cyrus hit me up today, he was like, "Did you sell your OSA?" I was like, "No, it's just I got it Cerakoted and it's just been sitting in my closet for like a month just because of the build queue." But I'm really excited to put lavenders because that's a switch that I didn't loop. I just popped different springs in there. I was like, let's try it. I think they're going to be smooth enough. And I feel like when we were like once kind of right after, Boxgate happened, all the box switches kind of went away. People were like, let's find the smoothest switch possible. And that's when the Gateron ink kind of exploded onto the scene right before JWK.
Yeah.
But now, and then it was because it was always like, oh, Telios is the smoothest, but it's expensive. And now it's kind of like, I don't really feel like there's a huge difference. I mean, in my opinion, there's not a huge difference in most linears. Like, if you do a good job lubing them and you like the springs, it kind of goes down to sound and what they're made of. And with JWK, there's so many that it's like, does it make a huge difference?
Yeah, I've been wanting to try the lavenders. I have some, but I haven't had the chance to like build anything with it yet.
Yeah, they're super good. I plan on using my I have some lavenders. I plan on using them with the symmetric springs that you sent out. Thank you. Spring swapping
Which
them with
weight?
those. I'm thinking 63.5. Because I
Nice.
have the 63.5 in my Sirius that has the olive creams. And I'm interested to see how it changes with the the longer spring, and see kind of how that changes the reaction of it. Plus the lavenders, I haven't decided if I want to lube them at all, if I want to like add anything. But like Chewy said, they're like super super good stock.
Are they factory lubed?
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah,
A little
slightly. But not like the silk switches where it's like 205. It's I think it's something different.
Just like their oil, their factory oil.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of lubing, we're still on talking about lubing. One thing that you have on your website that I had never seen before or never even thought about, that you send with your kind of like lube kits, is the pallets. How did that come about? Where did you get that idea? And like, how did all that happen? Because it's super cool. I haven't used mine yet, but I've seen some people use it and they really really love it. So how'd you get into that?
I mean, I felt like we had to, just because since we got rid of a lot of people like with the containers use the lid to like spread out the lube. Um, but so you lose that when like you go to syringes. Even though a lot of people also don't use it, like I used to also like just get like a paper plate and I would like do it there. Um, but for people that did like want something like specific, I just wanted to include something that would work. And after we got the samples for the little like pallets, they wouldn't like stay on the desk mat because they're so it's like plastic and it's like light, and so that's why we include like the little like bump ons. In case sometimes people ask me like what that's all about, and that's for just so like they don't slide as you're lubing.
Well, that, and as kind of back to what Eric said, like, you don't lose it. You can pop it closed, and
right.
if you want to be extra, I guess you can tape it shut. I haven't really experimented with how much, but I definitely found myself often, I use the lid just because I'm like, I know, at least I'm not going to, I can come back to that later. But like, that doesn't help with, I have 206 grade 2. I'm like super out of focus right now. I have 206 grade 2, and like it's either use all of it or it's I can't get it back in.
Right.
So,
right.
It's nice for for someone who maybe doesn't have that ability to just pop it out. You can, and then on top of all of that, you can start mixing your lubes. You can get a little creative. It's literally a palette. So
hi Winter, sorry, I'm like looking through chat.
So I want to talk about the keycap holders and the switch holders.
Yeah.
So the switch holders are great. In my honest opinion, I think the switch holders are one of the coolest things on your option. I think the keycap holders are a bit bulky, but I'm also a plastic bag user. So
Chewy doesn't care about the organization of the mods to the alphas and all that.
I
just throw it all together.
What's great is you have a match made in heaven with your blanks, the 9009 blanks. With those, fantastic.
That's what I had in mind too. Like with the
Yeah.
keycap containers, like like just throwing blanks in bags is like an issue.
That's a
um,
that's a long day.
right.
that's, that's a
And
long
like
day of having to like line it up.
and like if you think about it too, like with just like keycap storing solutions, I feel like there's two ends of the spectrum. Like there's like okay, like you throw everything like in a bag, and there's like no organization, and then on the other end, it's like JTK trays, which are like you kind of have to put everything like where it has to go. But then the idea with like the modular containers is that like you kind of have like a middle ground, because it's like okay, you don't have to put all the keys like exactly where they have to go, but you can at least like still like organize them by like, so for blanks it'd probably be like by row, and then for other stuff it could be like your alphas and like your mods and space bars. Maybe you get like extra kits or something.
Mm-hmm. Novelties, nice to have there. And
Exactly.
then, I used to but before I really started dabbling outside of 60%, which I say that I have fucking at least, so let's see, 60% more on the way. I used to if for a 60%, like I would separate the kits into bags. So it's like 60% with maybe a couple novelties, maybe a couple, maybe I'd throw in my FN and all my like super keys or whatever in there, and then everything else on my Afro keys and all that. So I just wouldn't have to search that hard.
Smart.
But then I really like the zipper with the tab that you can like open and shut.
Yeah.
And I literally just ran out of those and was being lazy. I was like, all right, let's just throw them all back in. But I like that option. You've got, as far as I know, I haven't checked since, I don't know, like 2 days ago. A couple, you've got two key sets on here. I've tried the 9009 blanks. They sound great. I'm dumb and didn't realize that there are, in fact, 1.75U shift keys. I just didn't see. So correction on there. And then these another great set with the black on white PVT. I haven't gotten I think I've mounted like half of them. Which and both of these very inexpensive. $44 for the blanks and $59.99 for the white, which covers everything except the 1. I can't talk. 1.5U for split backspace.
Right. Yeah, that's the one thing I wish we could, well, probably like I'm working on it to add. But yeah, I feel like just it's interesting. Like I feel like in the next year or two, we'll just be seeing more and more of like non like name brand kind of keycaps popping up. And I think it's great, and like we certainly have some stuff in the works that are like just more like keycap sets and more like themed sets. It's great because they're so much more affordable. They're like usually like when you work with like the non name brand menus, they can also like produce work a lot faster, so you don't have to like wait like a whole year. And it ends up being like a lot cheaper. But yeah, I'm like a huge fan of those sets. Specifically like 9009. I think a lot of people don't like them because they're blank. So like black on white ended up being more popular, but I don't know. I love that set. I feel like it looks so good on so many boards.
Looks great on polycarb.
Yeah.
So, and then you hit guess what, 40s users or ortho users, like it doesn't, your layouts are just open wide. It's kind of like dots. Like a lot of people like dots because it covers so much,
Right.
and you can kind of change up. For those interested, there are a lot of sets of dots that were sold. The KineticLabs boxes would be a great addition.
Yeah. Keep things separated. But yeah, no, it's nice.
All the orders come in just
dots.
I've already sent a couple people to those key sets because it's nice to have those available from a vendor that's here in the US. They're not super expensive and they fit like different aesthetics. I think that's one thing that is really cool about the 9009 blank is that it kind of fits like a slightly different aesthetic while still being, classic. Um, and at 44 or $45 and $60, it's like you can't beat it, especially when you're just getting in. That's an easy pill to swallow when you've just spent, $300 on a keyboard.
Yeah. If you're a streamer, or if you're wanting to be a keyboard streamer, get one of those, because it will go on everything, right? There's few keyboards. It doesn't really have the Alice, but you can use the shifts and stuff like that. But the other one too, the other one with, you can fit it on a split backspace. It just won't say backspace. But black on white, honestly, that one is probably, both of these are great. But the black on white, like, if you're a streamer, guess what goes with everything? Black on white. Like, it literally goes on every single board. You've got amazing coverage. You've got great bottom row coverage. You've got split space bars. You've got extra B's in there. I love the fact that you can get some media keys, which is so rare to see. It's just like, another thing, if you're a keyboard streamer, this is a great set to have, just to have as like, this is when I build other people's keyboards. If I build other people's keyboards, I can get this, knowing, maybe this doesn't live on a keyboard. But another great thing too is I've suggested this to people who, they just got into the hobby because they finally saw a key set that they really wanted. Right. I have a very good friend of mine who just got 8008 too. And he's like, oh, when's it going to come? I'm like, it's going to be a long time. It's going to be a minute. And he's like, well, I already have the board. And I'm like, this could be a good option, because you can have this live on your board for a year. And, then if you want to get something else, you now have a key set that will go with 90% of boards. So.
Yeah, I'm excited to see more, like, not just from KineticLabs, but also just from everyone. I feel like it seems like we'll start seeing more and more of those kind of like in stock, non-name brand keycap sets.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have a good question from Barely Tribal asking, do you think that more in-stock suppliers will be popping up or growing, hopefully, or will group buys be normal forever? What are your thoughts on that as a in-stock vendor?
Yeah, I mean, for me, like, I feel like over time, group buys are such a core part of the hobby, and I feel like there will always be a place for group buys. I think what we'll probably stop seeing over time, though, is like group buys for like things that people are that vendors are very highly confident will just sell because they're not super niche. So like, we're already seeing that with like black on white and like white on black. Like that's not like a niche thing. Like you can be fairly confident that those kinds of sets are going to sell. And a lot of the crowd pleaser sets, like if you take any color palette that's like, I don't know, really nice, like blue, greens, like whatever, I feel like a year from now or 2 years from now, we'll see like a lot of in stock, like blue sets, like green sets. So maybe that will slow down like a little bit. But I still see like, group buys being there for like more like niche stuff. And yeah, that's what I want to happen, but we'll see if it gets there. I'm curious to get your guys' thoughts on that too.
It'll be a long time before keyboards, especially with aluminum prices right now, it'll be a long time before we get in stock keyboards. I think what Novel Keys and Rama and soon to be Omni are doing with these injection molded and just different types of boards. We've seen people try and do in stock, and guess what? It's basically a group buy. Like we had the wrecked 1800 that was, oh, this is great, it's gone. He's like, I'm gonna make this in stock. It's gone. It's just gone. Like you can try and try, but as like the Bauer Light, he's, I know he wants to have that as like potentially an in stock thing. I'm like, that's not going to be an in stock thing. That's going to be drops that go ridiculously fast. It'll be a very unless he orders just an ungodly amount, it'll be just snapped up like that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I feel like it probably depends on the vendor too, because I feel like I don't know I feel like anything Canon Case would put out or like Omnitype would put out will just like sell out like no matter what. Um, but like if you look at Dock Stock or something, like there are some in stock keyboards, which is interesting, and
mhm.
like thinking back at like most recently like the Monster Gear like the XO V3 like that was in stock for like a little, like it felt like a while, like that didn't sell out instantly. So I wouldn't be surprised if like I don't know, like a year from now, like we'd see more kind of. Oh, and KBD fans, like of course,
Yeah.
Yeah.
seems to be doing a lot of that lately.
I think what we'll see is somewhat of a hybrid of it. For I don't know for keycaps. I think it more depends on what happens with GMK's queue time, but um I could see I'll talk with keycaps and then keyboards. So with keycaps, I could see if the queue time doesn't go down, basically like the vendors the vendors already order, like place an order for caps for a certain amount, and then in a sense the actual group buy is pulling from those orders that are already in place, and then basically like almost like a round two in a sense, but not really like publicly a round two. If it goes over what they had initially ordered, because we're seeing vendors, and we've consistently see vendors order significantly more and more extras every time. You look at something like Dots, where it was like a couple thousand extras, things like that, because they know now that they can get that sold, right? Like it'll be in stock for a day or two. And then for keyboards, I think you might see a similar thing. I know back, granted, this keyboard was a complete fail, but the initial intention of it, um, oh my gosh, now I'm blanking on the board. It's the Poner board from Zeal. Oh my gosh.
Oh, the Xeno.
The Xeno. The
Yeah.
initial intention of that is that they were already ordered
Yeah. Or he'd
prior to
ordered
the
like
group
a
buy.
big chunk of them
Yeah,
where like he had started making them.
so that way like the first orders, the first like 2 weeks of orders were already basically going to be in production, and then because of the way that making a keyboard works, as long as you don't have like different top options, like you look at something like a Polaris where you can choose like Win keyless, standard, or HHKB, like that will fuck it up. But for a normal like 65% that has all the same top option, all the same bottom option, you could basically have that entire production and then just be like, okay, well, how many of each color do I need to run? And then just run those. So you can already get that production started. And I think we'll start to see that to kind of lower some of the timetables for these things. But that is all with companies taking lots of risks and investment into those boards at first. And I think that's kind of like the next step before we go full in stock. Because I think that is the point we have to get to before we can be like, yeah, things all need to be in stock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It could be, I mean, and all we've talked about this before. All it takes is one bad in stock purchase to just literally ruin your company. Like you order 500 keyboards and you only sell 50 of them, and a couple people get their hands on it and don't like it. That could put your entire business under. It's a huge risk.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a risk running a group buy, let alone putting in stock stuff. So because if that shit just sits on the shelves, you're going to be wondering why you have no money, and you have all these hundreds and thousands and thousands of dollars in product, and all these products that people don't want. And it's tough because we don't have the backing yet of these big name brands. Like some vendors do very, very, very well, but they do very well because they've been cautious and they've been biding their time to do things and doing things the right way. you know, where if like let's say Novel Keys just decided to take a risk and, you know, like let's take GMK Lime. GMK Lime sat. GMK Lime extras sat for a long
Yeah.
time. Still sold out, but if he had tripled that, he might still have fucking GMK Lime sitting on his shelves. Like we don't, you know, and
That's
that's
true.
just money sitting on the shelf is just money wasted at that point. You know, it's yeah, I know when we talked to him a few years back, we talked about because what was it? It's about to get around to
Metropolis.
Metropolis. He bought a shit like at the time an unheard of amount, and that sat for a little bit, which is what he wanted. He wanted it to be an in stock thing, but you know that was kind of the first, and we were like, man, that's I hope hope it does well, and then soon after it was like I bought a lot. Like, he bought a ridiculous amount of Olivia extras, and those were gone in seconds.
That's crazy. Yeah.
So it's hard to gauge with this hobby because all it takes is one or two pictures on Instagram and maybe a couple streams or a video to pop off for that product to suddenly be worth, you know, 3 times what it is on Mech
Yeah.
Market. And if the flippers think that they can get it,
Yeah. It's hard to, yeah, that's the thing that's with that some people forget about is that it's not like if they order it in stock as an in stock item, like for instance, a keyboard or a GMK set. It's not like they are ordering and then they get it in like an exponentially faster timeline. Like they're still waiting that same like 10, 11 months to get that product. And like if the community continues on the trajectory of like growth, whatever you order today that makes sense
Right.
is not going to be enough for the time that you get it, right? Like
yeah,
Mike ordered a ton of NK65s. He ordered like triple what the original NK65 sold, and they sold out in like minutes. And he got death threats because of it. It's like, you know,
That's crazy.
how do you deal with that? Like, you know,
And I think like I mean that's also like with GMK specifically. I think that's why at least right now they're like not like a viable option for like in stock stuff yet. I mean, hopefully like at one point they will be. But it's like yeah, it's just too much of a risk because it's because I mean a year is like a long time. You also don't know what is gonna come. You know, like what if like this new fancy like menu came up that
yeah,
did all these things like within it like a year, and all of a sudden you have like all these keycap sets. Or like what if your business goes under and you know and like and you're waiting like
yeah.
that year
You're
like
just like, God, I wish I could sell these extras that aren't here yet.
right.
yeah.
Um,
My business went under because I committed, you know, $250,000 into, you know, this keycap set or these keyboards, and now I don't have anything to sell for you know 11 months.
I mean, it could
Crazy.
be something as stupid as like, you know, maybe the person that created the keycap set went off the rails. You know, there's so many factors that go in to a vendor and their risk and all that. It's scary. Like it's legitimately scary. Like you're having to put your trust and your faith in people you most likely, especially now, have not met like ever in your life. And now you're having to go into this, you know, multi-digit business transaction. It's crazy. So, but I want to go back to this website. So, guys, if you have exclamation point guest, it will take you to KineticLabs. This is one of the best websites in the hobby, like hands down. And I want to point out one thing, like, and I'm not saying that as like, you know, like, oh, it's great. Like, thanks for sending us stuff. Let me shit. Like, legitimately, you've got great stuff on the opening page, and something that I'll steal from Eric is when you go to switches, boom, right there, switch film, switch container, switch puller, switch opener. Like, these are things that people now you're looking at multiple objects, and you know, this is just like cash register pops 101, right? You know, you're at Guitar Center and you're like, oh, by the way, here's some, you know, picks and some strings like that you need for
Right.
for things. It's, you know, it's all there, you know, when you're buying, but it's something you don't see, and it's nice that you're able to go, oh, by the way, you know, if I'm going to be buying these switches, boom, I can buy this too. I love the accessibility of this website.
And yeah, I don't think I mentioned this, but my background too, just like in like career wise, is like web dev, so like building websites. And specifically, like most of my jobs have been like e-commerce.
Mhm.
So like going into, so I mean that was like enormous help, just having worked at like these big like e-commerce companies from like a technical standpoint, but also from like an operational standpoint. Um, I think helped a lot. um yeah, I mean, like going into just building this website, like it helped just knowing like the, you know, the lingo and like the kind of best practices for like what you're supposed to do, like on the like listing page and like the product page. um I think there's still like a lot of work to do. You know, especially like if you compare, I feel like if you compare almost any like keyboard vendor site to like a non-keyboard, just like a really good like e-commerce site or something, or like a startup, like there's huge differences in like how they operate. And like even I mean, in terms of websites, like the best one might be like if you go to Drop, like Drop has like so many features, like so many things. I mean, they also have like engineering teams, so it's like a little different. um but I mean, that's something that excites me, just like as a web developer, is just like all the cool like kind of possibilities for websites.
Yeah. I really love the way that you have it like laid out. I love that you might also like where you know, you're looking at a switch, it shows you the keycap container, or I mean the switch container or lube, you know, it shows the other things that you will need that you may not like think about. As well as like the little pictures of like what style. The little pictures are nice. It's just like very aesthetically pleasing. Um, you know, you have all the information easily laid out. Like I can't tell you how many times I've gone to a website for like a new Switch and I'm like, okay, well, what's it made out of and what's the weight? And it's, you know, it's somewhat hard to find, or like I have to read a paragraph to figure it out. Whereas this is really nice. It tells you exactly what type of weighting it is, right? Chewy's been not screwed over, but then it ended up being a good thing on that before.
Best mistake in the hobby I made.
But the fact that
Realizing I was using 103-gram switches.
yeah, the fact that it shows the bottom out force, or it shows what it is, it's just laid out really well. And then like Barely Tribal says, the FAQs as well. Just giving little tidbits of info to people, it just makes it super easy to grasp. And I feel like when I send someone to this website, I'm not going to have to answer a bunch of questions about the products on the website because the way it's laid out and the information that's on there answers those for them. So appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you guys. I'm glad you like it.
So
Absolutely.
the last thing I'll say, just respect for sending 78-gram springs for the space bar.
Oh yeah.
Because man, that's like, how did that become a thing for you? Because like when I used to use dielectric grease, that's, you know, it's a very sticky it's a very sticky grease. And there were some times where I was like, you know, I would build a box whiteboard and I was like, I have to use pale blues for I have to use a pale blue for the space bar because the space bar is literally not resetting fast enough for my typing. And so just adding that in is just such a cool little like, hey, by the way, you know, you've got stabilized keys. Stabilized keys are harder to press. You know,
Yeah,
I'm very how'd that all get going?
yeah, and I feel like I mean, part of it, I think for me was just like it's my personal preference to like put heavier like springs on like mods and space bars. But then also it's kind of like for the penguins like specifically, they because we went with totally like dry, like unlubed uh penguins. Something I noticed like while we were just like playing around with the protists and stuff before mass production was that they on those like big space bars would kind of have like a little trouble returning, especially when they were like unlubed, and especially for like the 63.5 gram variant. Um, so I had the option. So like I don't know. I had to think about, okay, do I do something like the blueberries where we just sell it in like 78 gram for like everything kind of thing, um, or like since it's really only an issue like on space bars and like mods, maybe like I don't know, maybe like we can just tell people to use like heavier springs. So it's kind of a mix of like personal preference and kind of like I think we needed to do it in order for them to be usable at those weights. Otherwise, the alternative would have been like to just sell them like at really high weights.
I mean, it's below 70 grams, so it's not even usable. But I respect. So,
Yeah.
no, no hard feelings on not wanting to try the new springs. It's like even there, he's like, oh, these are good. I'm like, that's cool. Neat. I'm glad you like them.
Do you have a preferred spring type?
For tactiles, typically I will go in the 74. I love Novelty springs. I think he's got my favorite springs. For most tactiles, I use 74 grams. A couple of them do have 78 grams specifically from Zelio switches. Linears, I'd bounce between 89 and 98 gram. And then I have 89 gram blueberries, which are like I use that at work right now. It's like a typewriter. So
When
I got
you
the
use
first
light springs, do you just like smash the
dude, you
keyboard
should
in?
see me.
Just like
I need to
break the
record
PCB?
myself typing on my laptop. It looks mean. I'm like, punish it. I do not like. I've got my wife uses lilacs with whatever spring weight that is, and it's just like I feel like I'm just punching through the board.
Yeah. Whereas I'm fairly moderate. I've got a board with lilacs, the stock, which I think is like 67. I think
Yeah,
either
I think that
67 or
sounds
like
right.
72. I got 78 grams in my Zycos. That's more like
That's a necessity rather
necessity
than a
and like
choice. Yeah.
tradition too. And then yeah, I like 63 and a half gram springs for linears. I used to be a lot heavier. I feel like I was into. I had a time where I was super light. I was using like speed silver
Silvers, yeah.
kale switches, which are like I think they're like 45 or 50 grams. I can't remember.
Let's look these up. Got
Maybe
50 gram operation, 70 gram bottom out.
Okay,
It's
so they're
actually
heavier,
Oh.
but they have a short actuation distance.
Yeah, 1.1 millimeter actuation, which is like nothing.
Yeah. So I used those for a long time, and then yeah, I got into heavier springs, and then yeah, and I kind of lightened back out. What about you? Are you a lighter, medium, or are you a heavy spring boy?
Definitely not heavy. I tend to lean more towards lighter. Like I think like you, I'm also like 63.5 is for me kind of the sweet spot. And I think like when we end up doing like future switches, I think probably we'll always offer like 63.5. Um, but I like to go even lower sometimes, like when I can. Like I think I ended up rebuilding it, but when I built the Baka the first time, I think I used like 53 gram strings, I think.
Hurts my soul.
They
Yeah, and this guy has a Baka, by the way. Secondhand market Baka.
Damn.
Not too many of those floating around.
I love this thing.
Literally 20 in existence. So soon to be more, but in a metal keyboard case, not too many.
And his has got a number on it. So
Yep. Yours has a serial. Now, what number do you have?
3, I believe. Yep, 3.
Yep, number 3. A
Damn.
low number too.
Yeah, I'm excited to build. Like I have to squid too. I'm excited to either see it built or like to build it myself.
There you go. We got a question. Do you ever think you'll end up selling just components, i.e., just tops, bottoms, stems from specific switches? Even if you end up getting a unified switch, you still wouldn't have to worry about taking them apart yourself and wouldn't waste springs.
I think it's a really good idea. I think I was thinking about it at one point, and then I forgot until now. But I think it's a good idea, especially like, I mean, if you think about it, I think it makes a lot of sense for the penguins or like for any like dry switch, because it's like if we're telling people, hey, you can't use them stock anyway, then like might as well like help people out and just sell them disassembled. Um, I wonder if I wonder if they would be cheaper too. I don't know how like manufacturing switches works, but
Yeah.
I think it's a good idea. Yeah, I feel like maybe
We've
I'll.
seen it with stems a little bit. You know,
That's true. We have
The Oompa Loompa stems were there.
and like the Utemu. I think there's like Utemu kits or something where like you can buy the top Utemu Sky
Mhm.
housings and bottoms and like stems separately. Um,
It'd be cool to see.
I think
I wish fucking Halo.
I was about
would
to say
just-
the big one would be if you could buy the pandas without the stem and then buy the Halo true and or clear stem.
Yeah.
That would be the big one.
I don't think they understand that. Honestly, I probably would pay the same for just the stem than I would having to buy the entire like I if they just sold it at the exact same price, I'd probably still buy it at that price. less waste, less work because they're fucking they're the goddamn kale housing, so you have to get the other half, the unused half of my switch opener, these two goddamn bars, you have to use that. Like I'd pay the exact same price for just the stem. So but guys, if you have any questions for us or for KineticLabs, Mr. Keybonbon, please just at Mechs on Deck in the chat or just ask away. At Mechs on Deck just helps us see it. No, I'm really excited. Do you plan on kind of maybe going into a couple more key sets? Like what's the expansion from here? What's moving forward?
Yeah, so we have a few like cool kind of things coming up. I don't know if you guys saw on Instagram, like I think the three latest things that we announced were so last week we announced the Hippo Switch, which is like the newest Switch. I have a little one here I brought. So this is the kind of big thing. Oh, the colors are kind of hard to tell, but it's like a pastel purple kind of thing. And the kind of exciting thing about this one is that it's the first time Gatoron is working on a like an unwipe majority stem. Yeah, which is like super interesting. They originally weren't interested in like doing something like that, and but then they did, and yeah. So that this will be like the next I think Switch that we'll release, and it'll be we're like a few weeks away, maybe like mid-April. I was gonna send you guys a few like just I have like a couple of protos I can send you. And so we have like some cool switches coming up. We have the other things we showed on Instagram lately were the desk mats. So we had a few designs from Alex and Ura that they made together. So we had like a black one and a blue one, and they're called Sketched. And then I brought another desk mat that I wanted to show you guys that we haven't shown anywhere
Leaks.
else. And this one I'm also like pretty excited about. And it's by a community member. Well, let me show it to you first.
Can we guess? Can we try and guess?
Oh
Ooh.
Oh my gosh. That's so
dope.
sick.
Okay, I have no idea, but I have no idea
So
who it could be,
cute.
but
I love this thing. It's funny.
it matches your chair.
Oh, right. Oh. Should make like a whole set of so this is an artist that you guys probably know Hypotech, the YouTuber. He like the first time we met and we were like talking, and I was telling him about like KineticLabs and the company, and I mentioned that we were doing like more desk mats. He told me, "Oh, I have like the perfect person for you. It's this really like talented guy that hangs out in my Discord, and like let me show you some of his stuff." And like I feel like within seconds of him showing me like this stuff, I was like, "Yes, like we need to sell that." Like it's so good. He's so talented, and yeah, and His name's Add Me on eBay. I think he just goes by eBay. Um, and yeah, I think he's been working on like a lot more death fans. So I think we'll see that name popping up just more in general soon.
Dude, everyone
Oh,
loves a
yeah.
little bit of eBay.
Right?
That's awesome.
So, well, guys, I'm going to take a quick moment to remind everyone. Saturday, we'll be streaming our anniversary stream, which will be, I said I couldn't mention it, but now I can. GMK Blurple has been added to the giveaway list. So a base kit of GMK Blurple will be there. So if you want to potentially win a nice little spot there, that will be launching Friday. So be sure to be there. KineticLabs will be sending out some awesome stuff from KineticLabs, some kind of like a care package of some of the stuff that we got that Osiris and I, he was so generous in giving us all this stuff. We're like, we got to share this with other people. Like,
Yeah.
We can probably give away some of the like unreleased estimates too, because I have some extras.
Here it is. You heard it. You heard it right here. What a fun word to say, buzzed. I love it.
Blurple.
So, but yeah, that's going to be Saturday for a good chunk of the day. We don't really have, we've got like a few builds planned, and you definitely want to play, like the Among Us update just came out. So we'll definitely want to play some Among Us and just hang out with some people on stream. So it's just going to be a good time. We'll be playing lots of marbles. So be sure not to miss that one.
Yeah.
What boards are on the agenda that you guys are building?
We can't talk about either of them.
Oh, it's not released yet.
They're like both special for the stream.
Yeah.
We can say who they're from. They're from Cannon Keys and Smith and Rune.
Yeah.
Nice.
So
can't say exactly what they are.
Yeah.
Exciting.
I think one of them's actually, yeah, never mind.
No.
Oh, you got close there.
But we do have.
It's just a really cool.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, sorry, my mic cut out. My bad.
Sean,
any lip readers out there?
Sean DePaul say one asks Keybonbon, would you ever sell a product that you wouldn't personally use but think would be popular?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I don't know. Like I think a good example of like a product that I've been wanting to explore more that I don't use but that I kind of want to use or learn more about is like a loop station. Like I've never used a loop station, but I've been kind of like learning more about them, and I feel like I could see myself using it if I just kind of like gave it a chance, kind of thing. Yeah, but I certainly would never sell something that I just think is like, I don't know, like dumb or like totally useless just because I think it would sell well. Because I don't know, I feel like part of selling something is like you have to sell it, right? Like you have to be excited about it, you have to like take pictures of it, you have to like talk to people about it.
Yeah, I think it's okay to sell things that you don't use but you still stand behind. I think that's a
good way of putting it.
The big difference.
And a question that I'll ask real quick: do you plan on potentially selling soldering irons? Is that, because I think that would be, if you sold soldering irons, that'd be it, man. Be like, there, KineticLabs, go there. Just start at KineticLabs and then go everywhere else.
I feel like it's a cool idea in terms of like, okay, like it's in theme with like a one-stop shop kind of thing, but I also feel like it's probably lower in priority with like some other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'd probably want to have like, you know, like obviously the priorities are like switches, keycaps, like keyboards, like desk mats. But yeah, I mean, once you know those things are down, like the sky's the limit.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, even just like even if you just had solder, I feel like that would be dope. Like
that's a good idea.
Some
And
Kester.
probably easier to obtain than
True.
And also less expensive to have in the in storage. So
true.
If you made your own desolder gun that was cheaper, yeah, you would absolutely own the modern market.
If I was smart enough to do something like that.
Stiletto says, for everyone, what's the usual restock times vendors have for Switches? And for Keybonbon, what challenges do you face when trying to get high demand items / Switches? Restock times, sometimes it's 1 or 2 months, sometimes it's longer. Sometimes, if I'll be honest, the worst thing Novel Keys has ever done is just took away Yak Pandas and never said anything. Never said like, by the way, we're gonna release them as 5-pin switches. He just took them away for like a month. They're just gone. It's like, oh shit. So, but that's for the restocks. That's
Wait, are they back? Is he selling pandas?
yeah. He sells Yak Pandas now, but they're
Oh,
5-pin, so they are
oh, cool,
different.
cool. Nice.
But in that transition period, they just kind of left, and then he just took them off of the inventory list.
Didn't really say anything. It just like didn't exist anymore.
Just didn't exist. People caught on quickly. Yak Pandas went through the roof in market for like 2 weeks, and then he was like, "Oh, by the way, we have 5-pins, which is now."
I feel like it also, in terms of like lead times and stuff, it has a lot to do with it's like a similar answer for like keycaps. Like it depends a lot on like the demand for that menu. So like the counterpart I think to like GMK would be like JWK for switches, and so they tend to take like a while to, like if you're producing anything like custom, like you're gonna wait like a few months.
Mhm.
But if you go with like other people that maybe aren't in such high demand, like in your example, like with the polar, like with the pandas, like with B Sun, like it's like much faster.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Yeah, I mean, I agree with what it's like. A couple months, Switches are in a much better place now than it was like a year ago, and for sure 2 years ago.
Jesus.
Dude, 2 years ago like you couldn't get inks, and then when you finally got
Inks
them.
were barely a thing 2 years ago at this time.
Well, they were
'Cause they were,
like
like,
that's
coming
when they
out,
were
like,
really bad because that's when the leaves started falling out.
yeah,
The Telios had the ping problem where they had like
the
the
click.
leaf click, and Yak Pandas, drop pandas were not an in stock item yet. They were still being made. And I think
Zelio V2s were still expensive.
Zilio V2s were like the only thing you could really get. So
Weird times.
weird times.
Sean DePaldi asks, how many protos did it take to make the penguin switch?
So with the penguins, like so like full disclosure, like we don't, they're not like proprietary molds or anything. Like they're just like the kind of like the ergo clear molds that JWK already has. So we didn't, and it just made sense, like just from like a business standpoint, to not like invest in custom molds like right off the bat, just because it's so expensive. It is something I want to do, especially with the penguins, because there's a few things that I think I would want to improve. Um, but yeah, it only took like a few. I don't know if I would even call them rounds, but it was mainly just playing around with like unlubed and lubed and like spring weights.
Yeah.
But once we had that figured out, like um nothing nothing more than that.
Best part about spring weights is you can just toss
Yeah,
those. If you don't like them, replace them with something else. Maybe some long springs,
yeah,
some stage springs of
symmetric.
multiple varieties. So, but yeah, that's it's I've been asked a couple different times about like like protoing Zycos or whatever. Do you play? I'm like, making after I found out the price of making a from scratch switch, that's never gonna happen.
And it's like every little like
I am personally never going to do that because I don't have the. It's like unless the Baca 60 polycard was $1,000 a board, you're not seeing that anytime fucking soon.
it's crazy. Yeah, I mean the price is pretty nuts, especially if you're customizing like everything. Like I
Yeah.
feel like I would probably start with customizing like incrementally. But yeah, like a full custom switch would be pretty pretty nuts.
Yeah, dude. The company that I work for, we work in foam. We do foam, um, and yeah, custom molds. Like even not like cast aluminum molds, like the plastic molds that can handle production are still insanely expensive. Like getting one of
Sure.
those made, getting all like the whole process of it is just it's crazy. And that's another thing when we were talking about in stock. I was thinking about it as like if you, as a vendor, if you spent, $100,000 on in stock stuff, ordering items, you know, would you be better off using that $100,000 as R&D and production to making something new that's like the next big thing or like can push the community forward? Like that's the other thing to think about when you're talking about wanting to have like in stock keyboards and in stock, GMK sets and stuff. Um, is a lot of those people are trying to push the community forward with a lot of things, and it's hard to do that um, without significant capital.
Right. I mean, it's definitely like scary to me, the thought of like spending like a ton of money off the bat to like R&D into something like innovative um is scary, because like the way I think I would want to mitigate risk first would be like, okay, like are there any kind of like middle grounds, like lower hanging fruit that we can try first? um but I think, I mean, to me, like that's the end goal, is to like have, like custom like everything pretty much. um but yeah, for me it's just like a mitigating risk type of thing. You just reminded me too, by the way, like as we were talking about foam, I wanted to mention something that I wanted to mention that I forgot to mention. We were doing this thing. I'm not really sure like how to announce it or like where to announce it, but you guys know the Scuff feet project, like the Zambumon
Yeah.
like feet. Um, we have like a ton of those because we're like using them for this like upcoming project thing, and we like the MOQs were so high that we had to get like a ton. Um, and so I don't know what to do with them. So what I with like, because it's so many. So what I wanted to do was it's like this program where like if you're a small like keyboard designer or something, um we we want to just like give you the feet for free. Um yeah, and like that's kind of the program. We'll also sell them like wholesale. But like the idea is just to like, I don't know, do something kind of cool for just like rising like keyboard designers and stuff.
Yeah.
So we'll probably make an announcement somewhere for that.
Hell yeah. Well, we'll definitely talk about that because that's huge.
Get away from bump-ons.
So, but yeah, that's God. That would be pretty big brain. Although bump-ons are easy to buy a shit ton of.
Right.
True, but they like kind of suck.
Bump-on compatible custom feet. There it is.
Yeah, Scuff feet are nice.
Get both. Do both. Can make the strip and then like at the ends. you can have your decision. So but yeah, well, guys, if you have any more questions, I'm gonna just do a quick read from our sponsors. If you have any more questions, please ask them in chat. But first off, we got OmniType GMK Blurple coming out this Friday. Very awesome little bass kit there, so be sure to check that out. Project keyboards, you go to mechsondeck.project.link. GMK Astral still running. Get last couple chances to get in on that. So great, very awesome blue set. Canonkeys.com/mechsondeck. You can get $79 base kit of EPBT aesthetic run by DD Decline. Great, plus just shit tons of awesome other kits there. So be sure to check that out, as well as GMK Fuji, DSA 1930, Dark Amber switches, which are kind of my if I had a switch of the month, that would be the one that I would choose. As well as, now that it is in our chat, KineticLabs. You can go there, grab some keycaps, grab some lube, grab some switch containers, make it look fancy, get a couple, just kind of like design it, make it look nice, make that our battle stations post just that much cleaner. So be sure to check all that out. Zap Cables are starting off our partners list. Zap Cables has got great cables, best in the hobby. You can also build your own through his kits. He's also got great desk mats as well as the bumper. Check out Typebeast, typebea.st. Just great newsletter. So be sure to subscribe to it. It doesn't flood your email or anything like that. As well as Mech Madness going on right now. Go follow mech.madness on Instagram. Check out that website. Check out the brackets. See how everything is doing. And then Smith and Rune. Be sure to follow smithrune.com. They'll be releasing more and more of the Iron Series boards, as well as maybe other things. Who knows? So check all of that out. And then what's not listed, but soon to be, will be 3D Keebs. So be sure to check out her website. She's got a lot of awesome stuff on there as well. So, Still says, maybe I missed your answer, but was there any challenges to getting high demand items? Or is it I'll just get it when I have it?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I think I missed it earlier, but yeah, I think it depends. Like for me, kind of one of my strategies has been like finding like menus that are not like in that position that are like so overbooked. So like, it's kind of like when we were talking about the GMK stuff, like GMK as a menu is just like not, it's just not possible for what we're trying to do. So we're working with some just other menus that are still doing like really good work, like really good stuff, much faster. So yeah, I think that's my strategy. I don't think I've hit anything yet where like yeah, where like there's just no alternative, or like there's usually like more menus out there that are doing similar things.
Very nice.
Nice.
Very nice. So, well, with that, I think we can.
Sorry, I forgot to mention one more thing.
Yes. Oh, absolutely.
No, the the sweater I'm wearing with the little penguin. So this is a collaboration with Tiny, and her. You guys might know her like Tux,
Yeah.
her little adorable like Tux keycap. Um, she designed these like really cute sweaters that will be selling soon, probably sometime in like the next few weeks. We have it in this color, which is like navy, and also white.
That'll be awesome. Always need
I'll,
more.
I'll I'll send you guys some.
Hell yeah.
Got to make some big boy ones. I like my sweaters nice and loose. Two quick questions here. Any chance that you will stock GAT Black inks?
Probably not. Not anytime soon.
There you go. And then, since you've added Duroc V2 stabs, do you plan on adding any more stabs, or maybe some KineticLabs Penguin stabs?
Dude.
Oh, that'd be fun. I think I looked into custom stabs, but they tend to be like really expensive, just because, especially like from Duroc, like stabilizers, are just really expensive like items. And so like hitting the MOQs of like custom stabs is it's like hard to justify. But then the idea of like having like our own stabilizers, I think, is something that I want to look more into, because I feel like in terms of like areas of innovation, stabilizers are like one place that like could be super impactful to innovate on.
Can you sell just additional 7U wires? That would be big.
Huge.
Especially with everything being in kits now. When like
That's
Chewy
true.
and I were like, we use 3 stabs
Per build.
It's like
4 on the OSA.
Yeah, right. It's like I can make that work for quite some time. I can make one kit last like a couple builds. But if I could buy some additional 6.25 or 7U wires, that'd be money.
That's a good idea, honestly. Just like splitting up this, because right now it's just one kit that you can buy. But I mean, yeah, I like the sound of that.
Yep. Is failure rate
high on stabs due to the wires?
Not that I've seen. Yeah, we haven't experienced that.
There you go.
For sure.
Bet you're with me on the Star Wars tax hurts. I have yet to see a Star Wars set that I've actually liked. I don't like.
I like Boba Fett.
I didn't like I don't like Sub Legends.
Mm.
I was not a huge fan of I don't like DSA in general. So I don't know, I haven't. Lots of artisans like the Space Goblin.
That's not a Star Wars
That's,
thing though.
well, I mean that's not. It's a Space Goblin.
It's
But,
a
I mean,
space
it's kind
goblin.
of it's Star Wars esque. There's some very loose uh, similarities there. Um, and they never actually sold that. It was a keychain that you got.
Yeah.
But there's some really cool artisans that have done some themes of wars that happen in the stars. But no, it's referring to the keycap set is twice the price because of Star Wars. I mean, that's just going to happen. We want, we've talked about that with GMK now buckling down on IP. That's just, if you want something fancy in that kind of realm, then you're going to have to pay that extra price. So
I'm surprised it took this long, to be honest.
yeah. So most super themed sets are like cool cringe for me. Yeah, I can get behind that. So
For sure. Well, I think that takes us to our final 2 questions. One, you read the Osiris doesn't remember the Luke battling the space goblins.
When Luke battles the space goblin.
The first question will be the more serious of the two, and that is, what is your favorite and least favorite thing about the community right now?
So I think the favorite thing, or my favorite thing about the community, hopefully it's not like too corny, but like the people, I feel like I've made like really good friends in the community, and one of the things I've enjoyed most too about the short time being a vendor has been like the people that we've like the designers and like the content creators that I've gone to meet like through it. It feels like even though it's just like me and Matt, it feels like we're part of like a bigger team. Um, so yeah, I think that's my favorite thing, and then my I guess my least favorite thing is probably the I guess like the FOMO that is so like integral in the hobby right now. Um, that hopefully like will change in the next hopefully soon, but yeah.
There it is. And last but not least, The Office or Parks and Rec?
It's 100% The Office for me.
We're
There
on
it
an
is.
office streak. Let's
We
go.
are. We got to break it up soon. Got to break up the streak. Favorite thing about the community besides the people? There you go. Well, yeah, we
Is
do.
that
I
is
mean,
that what everyone says? Is that like the
it's a
go-to
lot. I
answer?
mean, it's a company. It's. I mean,
Yeah.
that's this hobby wouldn't be if it wasn't a bunch of people. Then we wouldn't get to sit around and talk about keyboards with a bunch.
Right.
I was before stream and actually towards the beginning of the stream. These are all the people that we have had on the show. I'm gonna read this off on Saturday. Just this is a long list of humans that have come on that managed to schedule, and that's not even people like I wish we could have more than this. So well, Keybonbon, thank you very, very much for spending your evening with us. Guys, check out KineticLabs. They've got a lot of stuff. If you're kind of sitting there and you might want to upgrade, maybe you want to organize a little bit. It's spring cleaning time. Maybe organize those key sets, organize those switches. You want to try out some new switches. Maybe get a backup key set or a new board with some white caps on it. Be sure to check out Kinetic Labs. We will have a link for it'll be a code that helps just kind of give us a little bump back on that. That'll help us continue to do things, fun things on the stream. So thank you again for coming out and being on Mechs on Deck with us.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited to be working with you guys.
Absolutely. We're happy to have you, and we're excited to see what else comes out, because you're starting off hot, and it sounds like it's only going to go up from there. So really excited, and can't wait to like actually use all of the other stuff that you sent me. Like I've only used a couple things, and
Yeah, let me know.
all
Yeah, I'd
about
love
it.
to. Always happy to hear feedback.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's see. Is there who do we
I found
host?
someone. I found someone. Their name it's called Deck on Bell. Deck One Bell. Deck One Bell.
Deck one fell, like the number one or one.
Yeah, like spelled out the number one.
Are they doing keyboard stuff?
They're doing the UT 47.2 build, which looks to be like a 40. Never seen him, but like deck, yeah. So let's raid them, and then I have a question. I have a request, Osiris, Eric. Before let's get the raid going, and then I have a request for something that there it is. Can you put up our logo on the stream real quick? Just throw it up, just superimpose it. Fuck it, right?
Oh yeah.
Just superimpose it. Let's take a look. We haven't looked at because it's not really there it is. Look at that.
See through, but yeah.
There it is. Hey, you know what I say to that? Fuck that logo.
I thought you were gonna say good riddance.
I rated.